Hey everyone, this is your favorite radio host, Corinne Lafont, from Between the Lines, broadcasting to you from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. It's a beautiful day out. It was raining a bit a while ago, but that's okay. I love the rain and I love the sun, and I'm thankful for being here. You know, I'm always starting my show off with gratitude, and this is part of the series of saluting dads. It's delayed. We just celebrated Father's Day. When was it? Last Tuesday, I think it was, June 19th. But it's not only about a day. There's a designated day in the year, yes, but we have to salute dads every single day. And I put the show together, free to the dads that I'm interviewing, for 15 minutes. Might go a bit over, just a tad over, but just for them to share with us, why we should be saluting dads, change the whole landscape, the perspective, the perception, the negative perception that's out there about men and dads. And you may think, oh, I got all the good guys on the recording. There's always a little devil's advocate out there who would say, you get all the good guys. It doesn't matter. These guys represent the guys that you should be looking at as examples, role models, and have the belief and change your mind, and don't just cast all men in one basket and think that, they're all bad. There are good guys out there, and the guys that you may have in your life who you may think need some work, they may look to these guys for example, to learn. That's what it's all about, So I have with me today Michael Jacquith. He says his surname is French like mine, Lafont. And so we have that in common already, okay? So we have that in common. So let me just share a bit about Michael Jacquith. Just quickly, he's a father of 4 children. He doesn't look that way. With a 5th on the way, tired of the image that dads cannot do things with kids due to current pregnancy complications with his wife. She's on bed rest for 4 months. Wow. During this time, he's doing it all. Cooking, cleaning, running, and owning a family business. We need to marry this guy. Are you available, Michael?
I'm afraid not. My wife's pretty attached to me right now.
So he's doing everything. Cooking, cleaning, washing, ironing, everything. Running and owning the family business. And even take the kids camping, adventuring regularly. He says there's no reason why dads cannot step up. Although his current situation highlights what can be done, he's been a strong advocate of dads getting more involved and stepping up to the plate with their kids. He regularly takes first-time dads fishing, camping, and adventuring outdoors to show them that they can do it. And he absolutely loves the idea and supports what I'm doing about saluting dads and changing the negative perspective. And so I have Michael on. And can I tell you, when Michael was coming on, I texted him just a while ago, because when I was doing the previous recordings, he wasn't reachable. And so I just reached out to him today because I have a few minutes. And I say, let me reach out to these guys that I didn't get to do before. And he says, hey, I'll be there in 10 minutes, coming from the gym. I mean, the guy has time to go to the gym, people. I don't understand. 4 kids, 1 on the way, cooking, cleaning, washing, and ironing, and still have time to go to the gym. How is that possible, Michael? Tell us.
Well, first off, Corinne, I really want to thank you for having me on today, and I want to thank you very much for your kind words about dads. In terms of how I do that time thing, I think there's a couple secrets, and in terms of the gym, to answer your question directly, I just get up a little bit earlier. Here, we're in Mountain Standard Time, and the kids get up at 7:30, and I go to the gym at 6. And so I still have, an adult in the house, my wife here, and that works out pretty well. She can call me if something comes up. But it's a constantly evolving thing. We constantly every day try to figure out what works and what doesn't work and go from there.
That's awesome. And all it requires is getting up a bit earlier. I mean, it's so simple. You can't be expecting to do the same amount of things or more things within the same amount of hours that you're used to. So clearly something needs to change. And I know when people say you expect a different result, but you're doing the same thing, that's madness. So clearly you're not one of those who believe in that theory of madness. You're actually getting up a bit earlier. And actually today I got up a bit early. I don't know, my sleep cycle has changed a bit. And I've made the decision. It's a decision you need to make, really. For things to change, you really need to change. Something needs to change.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a whole mountain, a set of things to change. It's just one little thing. I heard somebody that I follow yesterday say it's just a 3 millimeter difference. Some people say a 60-second difference. You know, it doesn't have to be a whole 360. It could be just a 3 millimeter difference that can actually catapult you forward. So that's what you're
Absolutely.
doing. You got up a bit earlier before everybody in the house wakes up and start going crazy, and you get your time in. And how long do you spend in the gym?
About an hour.
Oh, nice, nice. So you're able to get back in time, deal with the kids, send them off to school. What are the ages of your kids?
So we have right now, we have 7, 5, 3, and 1.
Whoa, and another one on the way. That's
Yeah,
pretty close.
they are pretty close. This most recent one wasn't entirely planned, but that's how it works sometimes.
Yeah. So how do you manage all of that and run the business? Help, you know, you're talking about 4 plus 1, 5. Wife who is on bed rest. You're running the family business. There's some guys that don't even have any kids that may just have one or two, and they're complaining. They're having a difficult time. I want you to help me in terms of not only a matter of managing the kids and managing the house, but the synergy, the coexistence with your wife. You mentioned earlier on about there's a couple secret. Share with us. I mean, I'm giving you a lot. I'm throwing a lot at you at once. Um,
Absolutely.
what's the secret to make this thing work?
I think the biggest thing is expectation management. And you're right, it is a lot that's going on. And there's not a lot of folks that I would wish to have our situation on. It's more than I'll say is comfortable.
Mhm.
And I think for me, a lot of what I found has helped us to be successful, maybe too strong of a word even, is just realizing that in this phase, while she's on bed rest, I don't get to do a lot of the stuff I would like to do otherwise. I don't play any video games right now. I don't get to watch any sports right now. I get
Mhm.
up early because I go to bed early, which is not very attractive. You know, in terms of 60-second decisions, my biggest 60-second decision is if I look at a bottle in the fridge, I can't do that because I got to get up early tomorrow morning to go to the gym. So
Yeah.
that's kind of one of those little 60-second decisions that can pay off a lot.
Mm.
And on top of that too, it's you got to use your support system. You know, we have grandma that lives not too far away, and so I'm able to get her in the house an hour here, an hour there, whenever I need to go out of the house to deal with business stuff, and that's tremendously helpful.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, so having a support system is good, and lucky that you have that nearby. You know, that if you need to pile the kids in and probably a 5, 10 minute drive or whatever it may be, you know, you do that. That's great.
exactly.
Yeah. So what would you mind telling me your age?
Absolutely, I'm 37.
Oh, beautiful. With four, wow, you're doing this pretty early, so they can grow with you.
That's
Yeah.
the hope. That's why I go to the gym. Is I want to be able to, when they're 18, I want to
Mhm.
be hiking up in the mountains with them.
Wow. Is that a good decision though? I mean, when you it does, I mean, you look at it normally long ago, parents would space them out, you know, in terms of the age difference of the kids because they say, you know, you want the younger, the one before to help you grow the one that comes after. Is that a
Well,
good decision?
I suppose the most honest answer to that question is to ask me again in about 15, 20 years, and we'll see how I've made it. But I will say the fifth year, as I said, wasn't quite planned. We planned to do the 4 and then have a nice long stretch. And
Mm-hmm.
well, that's just not how it goes. But I will say that having them close already, we have this really cool thing that's happening
Mm-hmm.
that the kids, as they're getting older now, will just play. We're blessed with the beautiful outdoors here. We live in Idaho, and
Okay.
I can send them outside for 2 hours at a time, and they
Mm-hmm.
just play out there because they have 7, 5, and 3 all can play together, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's been really nice.
Oh, nice. How do you find the time to take first time dads camping and fishing?
So what I do is the kids come with me, and my wife is self-sufficient enough. She can get enough stuff when she has no kids here,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have a camping trailer that stays packed, and so I literally just hook the truck up to the trailer, throw the kids in the truck, and we go.
So
And
you
there's some
have all the little gadgets. You're like, what do you call that gadget man thing? That
right.
right?
Yeah, it takes some time, and I tell every dad that I take out there the first time, you don't have to start with everything. You start with something simple. I'll give you a quick story here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a friend of mine whose name is Jim,
Mm-hmm.
and Jim has a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old, a girl and a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I took him fishing for the first time the other day, and he said to me, "Michael, there's no way you'll keep 2 little kids happy in a canoe
Mm-hmm.
fishing for 2 hours." And we did. And the reason for me, it's a secret of you have a certain amount of food you have to manage. You have to set a pace. You have to know where to go to actually catch fish because kids like fishing a whole lot more if you're pulling even a little 3-inch perching, it's still
Mm-hmm.
way more exciting.
Of
But
course.
but it takes time to get there. And I think, I look at myself 5 years ago and I was nowhere near as organized as I am now. But I
Mm-hmm.
just decided, what, that's what I want to be. I want to be able to do these things. And over time, little steps, every little 60-second decision here,
Mm-hmm.
30-millimeter progression, you get there.
When you look at dads your age, because I'm sure you know people your age, I don't know if they are dads. Are they dads?
Many of them are, yes.
What's the difference between you and them? Are they looking up to you? Are they looking at you like you're crazy? Are they looking at you to say, how is he getting it done? And I don't even have so many kids and all of that stuff going on. What are they saying to you, or what are you saying to them? What can they learn from you?
Great question. And first off, yes, many of them do think I'm crazy. So don't feel bad about suggesting that at all. But I think when they say to me, Michael, how do you do it all? And I say to them, I don't do it all. I do one little thing at a time. And
Mhm.
then you do one little thing. I mean, I don't cook 7-course meals right now. I'm actually not a bad cook because I've learned how, but I'm cooking simple stuff. We're just making it through. The house is not immaculately cleaned right now. It's cleaned enough to get by. And
Yeah.
so you just kind of got to look at what's your priority and what do you need to do for right now.
Wow. I like how you say you're not cooking 7 course meals right now. So do you normally cook 7 course meals?
I don't, cooking's not my greatest strength, but I knew that I wanted to become a dad that could cook if needed. And my
Like,
wife she'll tell you stories about things I've cooked that perhaps haven't turned out as well, but that's part of the learning cycle. And, one thing that I tell dads is, ask your wife to give you forgiveness to burn stuff, because when you're learning, it's going to happen. But
I
there was
like
one, there was one Thanksgiving that my wife came down with a terrible flu bug the night before Thanksgiving. And so that one, dad did the entire Thanksgiving dinner. And it was a little different, but we made it through.
Yeah, you're still alive. The kids are alive. All their limbs are intact,
The sugary parts were still delicious.
37, 5 kids, four there, one on the way, wife in bed, managing a business. Do you sleep on yourself? Do you find yourself nodding off? The first few minutes that you may sit in the chair and you're like, oh yes, peace and quiet, and here comes another kid coming to ask you, Dad, is that happening to you?
That does happen, absolutely. I get my hour in the morning for gym time as my time. And then after that, the time between when my oldest goes to bed and when I go to bed is about 30 to 45 minutes. That's my wife's and I time. And
What
so
you get your wife and your time? You get time in all of that?
so the oldest goes to bed about 8:15 and
Mhm.
then 8:30, and the wife and I go to bed about 9:30, somewhere in that space.
Wow. So you do get time to spend with her. I was wondering, where in all of the little matrix of things are you able to say, hi, honey, good morning, give her a kiss,
It,
hug, spend time?
it's tough. I can say good morning as I walk by, but when I get back from the gym, the kids are already waking up. I would stick my head in and say, good morning, I love you, and I grab the 1-year-old and go downstairs and feed him. So it's a change. Like it is a sacrifice is really the right word for it. And I think a lot of guys are afraid to make sacrifices.
Yeah,
And the reason why is because they suck. I mean, there's no
yeah,
mystery there,
yeah.
but they also can be so rewarding.
Hmm.
And I really see this easily with the camping and the fishing. Like you will watch your kids' face light up with joy when they're running around with kids in the woods or when they have that first fish on the line. And there's
Yeah.
something so magical about that for me it's worth it. And I've discovered over time that the video games and the sports just can't compare with the joy of seeing that in the kids.
Of course, going back to basics, just enjoying nature, running about, having fun, talking, being free. This whole techie thing has taken over. I love the
Absolutely.
outdoors. And just interacting and coming up with new ideas and thoughts running through your mind as opposed to burning your brain cells out with all these little technology and iPad and iPods and whatever that there is. Not that there's something necessarily wrong, but there's a time and space for that. But you talk
Absolutely.
about sacrifice, and that is a major word there, and that is running through our entire conversation. And of all the interviews I've done so far, sacrifice I think is one of the common threads. And I'm thinking, you're a young man, you should be hanging with the boys. You're not old to say, well, okay, I'll settle into my life and been there, done that. You're still young. And your friends may be saying, oh, what Michael is doing. I mean, he could be having fun with us. He could have been out with us. He decided to dedicate his life to this kind of boring husband, uh, running behind kids, cooking, clean. You would never catch me doing that. You know, that, you know, that type of thing is what he may be saying. And you know, the brotherhood code, the man code, you know, the sort of ego thing may be happening. Are you going through that? Because I'm talking about sacrifice here. You decided, you made a decision from a young age or whatever age you decided, this is the kind of father you wanted to be. And so you're actually going against probably what the man code, the brotherhood code is. Explain that to me.
I think you're absolutely right to a very large extent, and I want to answer that in kind of a little bit of a roundabout way.
Uh-huh.
When a woman becomes pregnant, it's
Uh-huh.
very obvious that she has to begin sacrificing a great deal. There's no choice. It's you sacrifice from the first moment of pregnancy until the kid's about 25 years old or so,
Uh-huh.
and there's just no way around that. But for us men, I think a lot of us men still have this idea that we don't need to sacrifice. It's not as mandated, as you will. And I
Uh-huh.
think the flip side of sacrifice that our culture's lost sight of is that sacrifice brings meaning, and meaning is incredibly profound. And you're absolutely right. There's a lot of dads that I knew that, well, I'll just be honest, I probably don't hang out with much anymore.
Wow.
Most of the dads I hang out now are those that have kids that were going out and spending time. One
Uh-huh.
of the reasons I like camping is it's actually my time with the dads. Eventually the kids go to sleep and then we pass a few brews around and I don't go to the gym the next morning, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
is different, but it also, and it sounds maybe it's a little more old fashioned, but it used to be that men understood that it was an honorable thing to sacrifice for your family.
Uh-huh.
And that we kind of lost sight of that, at least on the male side. And women do that so naturally and so beautifully. And
Uh-huh.
that I think us men need to start reevaluating the goodness of that sacrifice.
I love that. You said we are, you know, men have lost that, and that is true. Over the years, they have kind of lost that, and it's, you know, women, it's a natural thing for women. They've reached a certain age, they start preparing, not necessarily like packing stuff or anything like that, but it's a mental, you just know, you kind of walk in without you even knowing, float into that responsibility as a woman because you know this is expected of you. And it just falls into place. And the time you become pregnant, this is what it is. You know, I have a girlfriend who never thought about probably even being pregnant. And I saw a post on her Facebook and I was really impressed with what she was saying, that she was never maternal. She never thought of herself of being maternal. And, you know, just being pregnant and actually seeing her baby, she just transformed. It's like, oh my God, now she have another life to be responsible for. And she just absolutely is in another world. She can't imagine how it is that she could, you know, previously think that she wasn't maternal. It just, for a woman, it actually becomes it is natural, you
It's a
know.
very beautiful thing.
It is, and it should not be seen for a man that it's a look down, or you know, hanging with the boys is like you're doing something wrong. You know, sacrifice is part of manhood. I mean, you guys go out on the field, the war field, and sacrifice your lives for others to save the country. You make sacrifice in those ways, and somehow it looked on as a good thing. It's like, hey, he lost a limb for the country. He died. You know, it's revered. But when you do it for a woman, you know, in your relationship, it's like, "Oh, that's a boy. You know, it's looked down. Why? You know, it must not be, and we need to change that perspective. Now,
Absolutely.
coming to your relationship with your wife in terms of how she sees you, that is important to me to hear, and I want you to share that because women have a role to play in all of this. How they
Oh,
see their
absolutely.
man, yeah, how they see their man, how they treat their man, because you know, men and women talk a different language, and I'm studying this thing, seriously studying the male mindset. I don't know if I will ever stop understanding or trying to understand. I think it's like till death, I will. I'm still learning, but women have a role to play, and I want you to share with me your, you know, how you interact with your wife, how do you all connect in a way that you all can do this together. I'm sure you may have arguments every now and again, yes, but you're a young man, and I'm glad that you're that age to be able to share with even the older men who need to learn from this, your people your age or even younger than you, to find that blissful spot with a woman that she can look up to the man, she can support the man, she can be there for the man, because that's what we're about as women. Help us to understand what we need to do as women to be there for you guys.
I think it's a great question, and I think there's a couple of different levels here. I want to answer that on. Our situation right now is pretty extreme, and I would certainly I would not encourage anyone to intentionally plan to end up in the spot we've ended up in. And it is tough. In our spot right now, it is very difficult. That 45 minutes that I spend with my wife at the end of the day is not my best time. I'm not on my A game. I'm not able to give myself to her in a presence as well as I'd like to. And I think she feels, perhaps I'll say, unable to engage with me on the level she'd like to. And this is a phase. This will be, 10 years from now, we'll look back and this will be a blip. But I think what we have tried to do so hard through our struggle and the extremity of what we're dealing with is really just focus on communicating, and not just what we call business mode communication. Business mode is, honey, I'm going to be gone from this time to this time. Yeah, I need you to be an adult in the house for this. So if anything goes wrong, you can call me. Those are business mode conversations. They're important, but they're not what builds connection. Connection is more of the dreams, more of the goals, more of the what is it we envision our family looking like 5 years from now, and making time for sharing my heart and myself with her is super important and super tough right now. And what I have found, I'm speaking just as a male right here, attempting the, I'll say, equally as difficult task of deciphering the mind of the female, is the more of my heart I'm willing to share, the more connected we can become. And that's not easy for me as a guy, particularly in my last worst 45 minutes of the day. But I would say to guys that aren't in as extreme a situation, look for ways to listen to your wife. And I don't mean business side listen, but just sit down and engage her emotionally where she's at. Don't be afraid to use the word, I feel this, or I feel that. It feels kind of dangerous sometimes. It is dangerous sometimes for guys to say that. But in that danger and in that risk is where we find true vulnerability.
I love how you said that. That's exactly the word I was going to say to you, vulnerability. And men have a very, very hard time.
I don't like it at all.
I know. Why? Tell me. I need you to help me to understand that. You're a man. Explain
it's scary.
Why?
It's scary.
What is scary about it, Michael? What?
I'm a strong guy. You can't tell from this here, but I can take 200 pounds and get it from the ground up over my head. Like, I've got physical strength. So, you throw a physical barrier at me. I know how to deal with that. But emotionally, I'm like a little tiny baby emotionally inside. And I think most guys are like this. We just don't know how to be comfortable. It feels vulnerable and weak to open this up. Like,
weak? Why? It actually makes you stronger. Do you know that a woman loves when a man actually shares what he feels? It
absolutely.
Makes us so listen to me. You guys have no idea what you all are missing when you actually open up to a woman and she sees that you actually have a heart pumping in there, that there's blood flowing in there. We're not saying that you need to cry, booey, booey, wipe and blow your nose, but roll on the ground and all of that. But we're saying, share, tell us what you're feeling, talk, tell us what you're feeling. Because we women will talk till the end, the world comes to an end and come back again. We share because this is who we are. We have to pour out our emotions. We are emotions with legs and arms. Right? Everything revolves around emotions for us. We are nurturers, we are caregivers, we are lovers, we come from that place. And so when we are trying to connect with you and you all just clam up and it's pure steel we're talking to, it's like, oh my God, how am I going to get through to this man? What do I need to do? Why is it so difficult for you guys to just open up? And why is it that if one does, it's seen as weak when it is really a strength?
I think one piece of advice I want to give to the ladies in this moment, and this is something that's played out true in my marriage and many others I've watched, for a man to open up takes a certain period of silence. Like, it's the weirdest thing, and it drives my wife nuts.
Yeah.
But what we have found is if she will just, I want to say it's perhaps a little harsh, but just stop talking for about, it might even take 2 minutes, which feels like an eternity. but just give me that quiet time. It's like I've got this layered shielding of armory awesomeness around my heart, and I have to kind of like take off a piece, and then I can finally share, okay, this is where I'm coming from. And if she starts talking during that time, oh, the process is lost. We got to start over. And so there's that period of quiet can really be helpful to drawing a guy out as well.
To draw him out, period of quiet. Okay. Okay, so we stay quiet for 2 minutes, half an hour a day. But some of y'all don't ever talk. And
It's true.
and we're like, okay, we're watching the clock. Yeah, there's clearly an elephant in the room. We're trying every which way to get your attention to open up, and you're not. And we're like, what the hell? Has he forgotten about this? No, he couldn't. He knows that there's something going on.
He knows. He knows.
He knows. He knows. What? And that drives us. Listen, if you all want to send us mad, the silence, the silence and the lack of communication will send a woman mad. But that's
Absolutely.
a certain point, because we will obviously, after a while, we get so annoyed that we just say, fine. You don't want to talk. Hey, don't talk. And by the time you do come around, we are certainly not talking. Because you took too damn long to come around to talk, that we have said, well, whatever. I am over this, and I'm not, for a woman, it's like if you take so long, by the time you do come around, we're like, we really don't want to rehash that at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
The length of time that you've taken to discuss it, we have just gone past. We want to talk about something else. That's old news. You're bringing back up the feelings to us again, the anger, the anxiety, and we don't want that. So guys, please talk. Please become vulnerable.
I think I would say to the guys too, I'll speak just for myself for a moment. It feels so unsafe. And so what I'm looking for me to be vulnerable is how can I create safety? And I think there's two ways. Number one, I've asked my wife, so I don't know if you've read through the love languages concept. My love language is physical touch. So I've asked my wife if she wants me to open up, just put a hand on my shoulder or something like that. But the other thing I'll do is I'll sometimes be like, okay, honey, I'm going to try to tell them I'm feeling these aren't quite right. The words may not be right. I might need to take a couple times to try it, but it's something kind of like this. And that lets me feel a little more safer. Like if I feel like I've preloaded that, you can't hold my exact words against me here because I'm working through this. This is not natural for me.
So you don't want to really say something that may probably hurt her because it may come out wrong.
Exactly. And guys internally are terrified of that. We love our wives, and we're so afraid that if we say something the wrong way, because we understand that men's and women's minds work differently, and there's sometimes things get lost in translation. Yeah. And so we just don't want that to happen.
Okay, I could get that. But at least I like how you said it, where you say to your wife, don't take it, what I'm saying now as gospel. I'm still processing. Just take this for now, because I know you need to be satisfied with an answer. So take this for now, but I'm still processing it. Wow, you guys are something else. But this is great. You were going to say something, Michael.
Oh, I would say, and then the key too for guys there is to realize that it may need follow-up, and the timing is always difficult, but at least then she feels like you're not ignoring her. And then later on you come back and say, I thought about this a little bit more. And I think maybe when I really boil it down, what I feel hurt when you leave your shoes in the front of the door or whatever. And so like it's a little easier to come back later on and have that safety of time.
This is what I'm saying. Don't ignore. Say something and you can come back later. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you totally ignore, cut off communication, total silence, we're like, what the hell is going on? So it's good that at a young age you have discovered that. And let me go back a little bit in your history, because we're about to wrap up. Your father, because I'm asking this of all the men, what sort of example was he for you? Was it because of his example that you are the way you are? Or did you take bits and pieces from other people? Did you read books? What it is for a young man, age 37, because you're 37 now, but you have a 7-year-old. So at age 30, I guess, let's say from age 30, you became a father. So you're age 30. That's a young man to be having kids. what it is that you learned from it. Who was your role model? Where did you pull from in order to become the man that you are?
I think that's a really great question, and I appreciate you asking that. And unfortunately, my answer at first is going to be a little bit sad. My father was not a great role model. It got real messy, and there's a lot of unfortunate things that happened. And by the time I was in 6th grade, he was gone,
Wow.
and I did not see him again for the next 10 years. And so I knew growing up that the example that I had seen in my own family life was
Uh-huh.
not what I wanted. And
Wow.
so I made an intentional choice to go out there and find some alternative. I almost kind of think that when it comes to role modeling, there's two extremes. There's you have an awesome dad, you're like, yep, I want to be that. Or you have a wretchedly terrible one, in which case you say, I do not want to be that. I have to
Mm-hmm.
find something else. But I
Mm-hmm.
also want to touch on something you said there about the age of 30. I think by age 30, I knew enough that I had to be reading books and finding other men to talk to in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how to be a husband. But
Mm-hmm.
I had no clue what it meant to be children. I wish I could go back in time and whack 30-year-old Michael upside the head a few times and be like, don't do that silly stuff that you're doing right now with your kids, but
Mm-hmm.
read more about that ahead of time and don't wait until you make mistakes and get angry over silly things to
Mm-hmm.
learn. But
Mm-hmm.
we all have to learn. And, I have friends of mine who had amazing dads that respect them. But the truth is, we're all on our own journey. We all are different from our fathers. And
Right.
I think that when I meet a guy who is willing to read, learn, listen, and have real discussions with other dads,
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy the other day come up to me and said to me, I was on a fishing trip. He said, Michael, I'm really struggling with my kids in this particular application, in this setting. What would you do? And
Mm-hmm.
the bravery it took for him to ask me that question. And I gave him a couple ideas. We had a conversation and moved
Mm-hmm.
on. But we all have to grow.
Yeah.
And whether your starting point is bad or amazing, we've all got to grow and always be new role models, be reading books, all that kind of stuff.
And the thing about it, Michael, is that we need to recognize we need to grow. We don't ever stop growing. And anybody who thinks that they have reached the pinnacle, they're lying to themselves. They're fooling themselves.
Absolutely.
We are always growing until we die. Okay? I don't know when that point comes if you're still growing, but until we die, you're still growing and you're still learning, and you're always open to learning. And learning is not just a matter of classroom, you go in and study and books and stuff. I'm talking about life skills, experience, which is the best way to learn. Yeah, and I love the way that you're hanging out, like live hanging out with guys, parents, and just having time with other guys, and being a role model because your father wasn't around. And I guess innately it just automatically comes out in you to be able to give back because you knew what you didn't want. And as it is said, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So that is pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. Not everybody have that great story to share, and I'm happy that you were vulnerable enough. Let's use that word again to share that you didn't have the best father. And there are many who will be listening to this who don't have the best father right now or didn't, but that doesn't define who you are today or who you can become. And that is very, very important. You can make the decision. You can be the change because it's you, whether you have children or not. And it's not a matter of biological children. You can have adoptive, you can be the uncle to somebody, a nephew, it doesn't matter, and your neighbor's child, your classmate, your whoever classmate in school, it doesn't matter how the fatherhood comes around. We're all here to learn and to grow. Thank you so much, Michael. Are there any final words before you go?
I'm really going to challenge all of you dads who are out there to take the risk of making a mistake. Get out there, try it out. Know that a lot of the stuff you try isn't going to work, and
Mhm.
that's okay. As long as you start by affirming your relationship with your family, your wife, your children, they're going to hang with you through it. And at the end, when you get better, it's worth it.
Great way to end. Thank you so much, Michael, for being on Between the Lines. It's been a pleasure having you on the Saluting Dad series.
Thank you so much, Kareen, for having me. It's been awesome.